Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at a PortalCraft deck. This is a Omen of Craving PortalCraft deck. So of course it uses a pretty standard artifact engine which has been used in a lot of previous decks in the past, but it just relies on Omen of Craving to really give you that extra bit of reach, which always seems to work out pretty nicely. It's a very solid card in the current meta, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does get some adjustments in the future, as it's being used in so many decks right now in the meta that it's just unbelievable. Otherwise, you're running pretty much everything else standard to artifacts, pumping out as much as you can. You could nearly probably squeeze in a Sylvia or two in here if you're looking for those late game win cons, but they're a little slow against the other big hitters like Forest and Rune, so probably not recommended. Also, of course, Shadow, which has been very popular. So we're going to get right into this and check it out. So I've covered a lot of the better decks in both Unlimited and Rotation at the moment, so we're mainly going to be looking at probably the next few days of just looking at kind of janky weird decks that I thought might be interesting to cover, as they've got some uniqueness to them, which is why I wanted to cover this artifact deck, as artifacts aren't super popular, so trying to build a deck and find out what might be decent was definitely what I was looking for when I was searching out different deck ideas, and this one really caught my eye, as I do prefer playing artifacts personally. I always enjoyed playing them, especially over most other deck builds, and really it's just a lot of fun to mess around with these and see if they can do well. So in the Rune matchup, it tends to do fairly decently, same in the Haven matchup, as completely flooding the board isn't super easy to counter. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not easy. So we start off fairly well. I mean, we've had consistent drops pretty much all the way through now. The only real problem is dealing with some of Mysteria's kind of board floody cards, mostly the zero cost ones. If you can get around those, usually you'd be pretty right, and in a situation we are now, we're able to actually slam a couple of 2/2s to the board, which should do a pretty decent job at absorbing some of these spells. Now it's really just a matter of slamming Crux to the board, or Kookaroo, sorry. I think Crux is just such a better name to call it. So we're able to slam that, remove, and go face for a little bit of extra damage. If they can't wipe this board, it is going to be pretty tough for them. Mysterian Wyvern is pretty good, or Wymist. Wyvern isn't spelled like that. Anyway, Mysterian Missile, that's pretty acceptable. So they did a pretty good job. They've mainly just left this pure hearted up. I had the chance to go to Deus Ex Machina, but I really wanted to slam the board with as many drops as I could, as I felt like that was definitely the play to go for. And this time, with the Evo on the Pure-Hearted Singer, getting us that extra 3 damage. As long as they don't have a mass removal spell, we should be pretty safe, and obviously that's present as they do end up conceding. So, following on from that, we are up against Haven. Haven mostly now is mostly Seraph variants, trying to counter the combo hitters, which isn't a surprise, but won't do super decent against this deck, as our kind of max damage output for cards is 4, as that's where we kind of limit this deck at, especially with Omen of Craving. So meta production, always a good turn 1. There's only probably one more way it could be a better turn 1, and that's having our 0-drop card as well. And of course Silver is going to be great. Sylvia is an amazing card to use, especially with Kookaroo. Jeweled Priestess, not a problem. That should be a pretty easy card counter here. And we can get 2 damage into face, plus the 1 off the Sylvia for 3, and now it's just a matter of chipping away at them until we pretty much have victory. Of course, Black Inscripture, at least that does waste most of their turn, with White Diamond not really being very effective against us at all. And I decided to go for the meta production, mainly looking for that draw. Not worried about slamming too much to the board yet. Unicorn Knight, not a big issue here, Unicorn Knight. It's only going to be able to remove one thing, which is probably going to be the 2/3. Leaving up our 2/1, which is good for us. It is going to be even more damage. And we're going to get a fairly decent spread. off the token here, as it's all going to go face, so that's going to be 4 damage off that 1 card thanks to the Sylvia ping as well, and an extra 2 damage for 6 that turn, which is a really nice way to go about it. White Fang Temple with the Evo. Not an issue. Again, we'll probably just make the same play we did last turn and go for a really nice 6 damage. Leaving them with just 3 health. We can also throw an Analyzing Artifact down, which is going to be fairly decent, as having that extra on board and the potential to draw definitely will help long term. Even though we're not looking long term, it's just nice to have that extra potential damage on board. And that does end up in a concede, which works fairly well for us, so we'll take it. So this was a quicker video. We didn't actually get to use Omen of Craving, which I was a little disappointed about, but it does tend to be fairly hard with this deck to stick it. Most of the decks are either very control style or reasonably aggressive, which can make it very difficult to really stick a board with this deck in particular. Like I said, not all the decks I cover are always going to be good. In particular, I don't recommend this one. This was some fun. I don't mind playing artifacts, but it just seems to really lack being able to stick to the board consistently. The artifact generation is nice, but not consistent enough, and even if you get Deus Ex Machina onto the board, it's usually too late, as passing turn 6 like that really hurts in this current meta. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe for more content. I'm probably going to have a couple more short videos over the next couple of days. I cover kind of weird decks, so hopefully you can enjoy it at least. And until next time, see ya.